Go
All
ahead.
right. We are at Sutra, Book 2, Chapter 12. Um, I guess just to give a little background of what Book 2 has been getting into and talking about is really this idea of kleshas, certain obstacles that we're faced with during meditation. Some of them might be a smita, ego, vinavesa, which is, I believe, a fear of impermanence or fear of death, avidya and ignorance that kind of packages all of them because they all come from a certain level of ignorance. There's attachments and detachments, which has a changing narrative from my perspective the more and more I read this. So I'm going to start today with chapter 12. Klesha mula karmasayo drista yama vidanya. Klesha meaning obstacles, mula meaning root, karma meaning reactions, asayo reservoir or womb, drista seen or present, adrista unseen future, jama or yama birth, and vidanya experience. The womb of karmas, actions and reaction, has its root in these obstacles, and the karmas bring experience in the seen, present, or in the unseen future births. Here, Patanjali tries to explain what karma is, how it is stored, and how it functions. The Sanskrit term karma can mean two things: action and or a result of action. When you do karma, you reap karma. But generally, when we say karma, we are referring to the reactions to past actions. Every action will leave its result. Every cause will bear its effect. It is impossible to say which comes first. For instance, how does a tree grow? You sow a seed. But where do you get the seed? From another tree. Which comes first, the tree or the seed? Which comes first, the chicken or the egg? It's impossible to find out. Likewise, it's impossible to know the origin of karma. No one knows where and how it started, but it is here. We see it, and we should try to put an end to it. So no action goes without its reaction, and these don't go away but are stored. The reciprocal for the karmas is called the karmasaya, or womb of karmas. The karmas wait for an opportunity to come to the surface and bring their reactions. The kleshas cause these karmas, which may bear fruit now or in the future life. In other words, they are seen or unseen. According to the number of our karmas, we will have births. But there need not be a separate birth for every karma. Karmas may group together. One strong karma may call for a body, and all other similar karmas that can make use of the particular vehicle to bring their reactions will join in. It's something like a taxi driver collecting a number of people at the airport and bringing them into a city instead of picking up just one person. First, one person hails the cab, and then a few others who want to go the same way will jump in and then drop out along the way to the city. In the same way, one very strong and powerful karma will say, I must have a body. I have to express myself. When such a karma brings a new body and starts working through it, all other karmas that can take advantage of the body will join in. When the karma is over, there will be more waiting in line. Even your present body can change if you have an intense desire. If your mind is consumed with intense anger, for example, the whole face and body will change to express that emotion. If your present body can't change enough to fulfill the purpose of a particular thought, the body will be disposed and you will get a new one. Karmas are that powerful. Just imagine how many actions you perform, how many have brought forth reactions, how many reactions must be pending. Good and bad actions bring either meteor, 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 meritorious or demeritorious reactions. So when you take a birth, you are not only enjoying the reactions to previous actions or purging karma, but you may be creating new karma also. There are then three kinds of karmas, those being expressed and exhausted through this birth, and that's prarabdha karma, new karmas being created during this birth, agami karma, and those waiting in the karmasaya to be fulfilled in future births, sanjita karma. These are something like the paraphernalia of an archer. There are a number of arrows in the quiver. A really expert archer can take an arrow, fit it into a bow, aim and release it, and immediately take up a second arrow to fit. The arrows would then be in three different stages. One has already left the bow and is on its way. You have no more say over it. You can neither stop it now nor draw it back. This is like the prada karma, which has caused this birth. As long as the body stays, the karma allotted to it will continue. Even a person who has transcended the mind and realized the self still appears to be doing something because the momentum created by his or her birth is still continuing. The second arrow, ready to be aimed, is like a new karma you create at each moment. You have full control over it, and the quiver represents the karmasaya. If you want, you can aim the arrows from the quiver. Otherwise, you can take them out. It is in your hands. They are called the sanjita karma. We control the agni and the sanjita, but we can't do anything about the prarabdha. We just have to accept it. So the cycle continues until self-realization comes. Okay, so now we're getting into karmas. Here, Patanjali is talking about, and this is after dealing with the kleshas, kind of what I take this as our own internal status or presence in the universe, how we come in. Karma, at the root of it, is an action and it's a reaction. So it's, I guess you could say, the driving force for interaction and friction and communication and engagement. And in this karmic state, we come in a certain way, as well as we have influence in kind of how we progress. And he takes us through these three ideas of the karma. And for me, while reading this, I know the bow and arrow, and the bow and arrow analogy made the most sense. So there's paradha karma, which is the karma you're birthed into, which you have no control over. And that's, so if you're an archer and you're about to take a bow, that's the initial bow. Before you take it, you just grab a bow. So it's like you're just grabbing whatever's there. So you're coming in, your body or your spirit is coming in to this universe as that, and that's what you're dealing with. And let me read. And it says, new karma is being created during this birth. It's called Agni karma, and those waiting in a karma saya to be fulfilled in future births is Sanjita karma. So in my understanding so far, before we get into deeper discussion, the Agni and the Sanjita, and I can't really distinguish the two, but both of those have a sense of where he's talking about you'll be able to aim the arrow, you'll be able to kind of make decisions, and those actions, those karmas, right, will influence future reactions or future karmas, your future status, your future present. It's very interesting. This idea also of karma saya, the womb. I feel like that is similar to also paradaya karma, where it's coming from somewhere. You're starting, you're birthed into something, or that womb is kind of when you experience the sanjita, or I guess I don't want to say cyclical, but it seems like it's a, I don't want to use conveyor belt like type of thing, where you're moving forward and then you're kind of coming back around, and then whatever karma was not exercised, you're going to birth it into a new body, so to speak. And this is where kleshas come in, because that is the root of your actions and your behaviors. And this is what Patanjali was talking about before, noticing kind of your mental, the psychology, which in book 2, I'm realizing really is, it's the fundamental psychologies of the brain and how we internalize things. And once you recognize that, you can, inform behaviors moving forward. But yeah, any comments on this, on karmas? I know it's quite dense, like everything else in here.
I really find the paragraph where it says, even your present body can be changed if you have an intense desire. If your mind is consumed with intense anger, for example, the whole face and body will change to express the emotion. I find that very interesting, because when I was introduced to Ayurveda and the doshas, going into yoga teacher training, and I was like, oh my God, it's so true. Like, my face was round and I was redder, and I was like exploding with pitta 10 years before that. And it's pretty insane that it even changes the physiological part of our body.
Yeah. I agree with that. And in this, especially in book 2, it kind of is telling, and what Patanjali is kind of saying is, hey, the faculties of the mind, or what happens in the brain, is the personality you take. So, like with me, to speak on my experience, I'm like, I've always had like like I wouldn't understand things. Like I would just like kind of be, and that's why I use the word perturbed, or conflicted, or confused. And it would just kind of, my face just kind of turned like this all the time, because I would always be so like confused internally. So it's like when they talk about waves, right? And our mind works in waves, and one wave could be one thought, and you attach to it and you identify with it, you kind of transform into it, right? So those intense desires, or something like in a what's the klesha where it's like an emotional clinging? It's not a benavesha. There's a klesha where it's like an intense And it's not raga, because raga is an attachment, which is also like a really intense relationship with something. I can't remember it, but
Well,
it's like,
Abhivesha was the clinging to life, wasn't it?
what was it?
Like the
Abhinavesha?
clinging to your body, Abhivesha. Like the
Mm,
fear of death.
right, right, right. So yeah, you could, right. So even in that sense, you would get, your mind is warped and your whole presence, because when I was young, I was really scared of a lot of things. And of course, that idea of impermanence and fear of death was like I felt it in a core, and it kind of formed my reality. And anything in the dark, I would be so afraid. Like I would, like there was just this thing, like I knew stuff was there, and like I would feel it. And it was just like it formed, and it kind of morphed my whole reality. So it's so interesting how the beginning kleshas are tools for you to analyze the mind, to let you know, like, hey, this is kind of what's going on a psychological level, and meditation can help you, can help inform your behaviors to I guess, produce better karma. I think that's the point here when we come in back to the karma. It's so our actions can be from a pure place. Yeah. Karma saya, or the womb. That is a very interesting idea. I'm going to read that part one more time, right? Maybe just so we can get a little bit more into the karma. So no action goes without its reaction, and these don't go away but are stored. The reciprocal for the karmas is called karmasaya, or womb of karmas. The karmas wait for an opportunity to come to the surface and bring the reactions. The kleshas cause these karmas, which may bear fruit now or in the future life. In other words, they are seen or unseen. According to the number of karmas, we will have births. So, to me, right, and I would love to have a discussion on this. The karmasaya, or the womb, is kind of a depository of the reaction of our karmas. So if we live this life, and however we leave it, it is the karmic state we're kind of in. Is the karmasaya this place where, I don't want to call it purgatory, but is it where the karma kind of like stays and then looks to be exercised somewhere else?
Yeah, it's like the subconscious mind, the karmashaya, like the chitta that we learn about.
Okay.
But it's like a purgatory for your impressions,
Right.
for your samskaras. It's a good analogy.
Okay. Yes.
I think the most powerful sentence for me in this sutra is him talking about the second arrow and reminding us that we have full control over our current karma and about the future karma. Just like a really good reminder.
Yeah.
I don't know, karma is something that I can understand and I can grasp, but I don't have much to say on it. Like the words just haven't formed yet. So that's why I'm being
it's dense. It's dense.
Pam, I totally relate with that. Like looking at the 3 different levels and how one is gone, right? It's done. It's gonna drag you wherever you're gonna get dragged because of it, and that kind of sucks. But you have the other chance. There's there is full control. Like we can make decisions, and that can start if you're going all the way in this direction. If you keep taking one arrow at a time and slowly start aiming to the opposite side, we can change. That's almost, not almost, that's kind of soothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, karma, the idea of karma, for me also, it gives us a level of control, that even though we're born into something that we can't control, we can still influence it. And it's always going to come back to these idea of kleshas, how we process things, how we observe things, how we observe ourselves.
And it's going to change in every moment, like how you handle the same situation you have every single day is going to change in every moment. Especially if you're fully present and you're really acting on how you're choosing to act instead of just reacting.
That
And
is so.
like, I always say, like, there was this book I read about waiting 90 seconds before you react to something. Like, let your emotions settle down. It takes 90 seconds. And so here they say karmas are reactions. But in my head, they're really just choice actions. So they're still reactions, but they're not like an automatic reaction. They're like a pause, a breath, and like a mindful action, something that we get to choose. We don't get to keep blaming and saying, well, I always do it this way, or my parents raised me this way. And that's when the obstacles, I guess, start pulling into our karma.
Mm-hmm. Right. Because, and to expound on that point, with every choice that we do make, and even like, let's say we continue with certain behaviors that is really not conducive for a healthy lifestyle, there's going to be something that always happens, I guess, where we're allowed to have a realization, or, you know, it's like, okay, I keep on doing this, I keep on doing this, I keep on doing this. Year one, I don't change. Year two, I don't change. But then this happens, and then I change. And I guess shame, I don't know, it's like, okay, got to this point, but still, whatever state you're in where you can kind of start to change that karma, or change that behavior, or see yourself, or process a particular kilesha, or recognize something in you that you couldn't see before. It doesn't, I guess it doesn't matter whatever happened, because it's happening in that present moment. So whatever present moment you're in is always gonna, it's not like, oh, I should have did it. You know how a lot of times when it's like you may have missed an opportunity, and it's like, oh, I should have did this, I should have did this, I should have did this, and you beat yourself up. But the realization should be, I want to say, celebrated or appreciated. Like whenever you do have that realization to change your behavior, or to push forward, because in that moment, other people could have been telling you around you, like, hey, this is no good, this isn't right. But if you don't see it for yourself, it's not, you won't be able to have an authentic change in behavior, or an authentic awakening, or authentic realization. You'll just be listening to other people, and you'll probably be more susceptible to kind of go back into into that behavior that was undesirable, so to speak.
I think
Okay.
that's that second arrow too. Thinking about it now, like, you know, like, I don't know, someone just mentioned, I think it was Amanda, how we say, or you, I'm not sure who just mentioned, like how we tend to say, oh, but this is what my parents taught me. And like, it's really all blame and a responsibility. And that second arrow, he's putting full responsibility in our hands. And it's a matter of choice whether you're going to actually choose to really be responsible or not, and then keep blaming whatever happened when you were a kid or when you were, or whatever in the past that is now bringing everything into your life, right? So like that second arrow, it's a lovely reminder, but it's also like, hey, wake up, it's your responsibility.
And I feel like we do have control over that first arrow, in the sense that right now we're preparing, if you believe in this.
Right.
So right now we're preparing the first arrow for our next life. So all the choices we're making will make the first karma easier for our next life, if that's something you believe in.
I agree with that too, Pam. And that's a really good point. That everything we do now will transcend into our next life. And Mish, based on what you said, I was in the car. I was driving from Connecticut yesterday, and a random thought like hit my head that's kind of similar to what you said. Like, we all have a choice. I started thinking about I was thinking about Hitler, right? And how, like, in history, everybody's like, oh, Hitler was the worst. Hitler did all these things. And, you know, not to get too much into the history, but it was like, you know how many people were complicit in that in that action? And it's like, we talk about one person who was really appointed to complete a mission, and right, and he put a lot of energy into that too, but there were so many other parties that were a part of that. So it's like, I can't even just look at this one person. It's like, there had to be, in regards to who, like, the second arrow, it's like, even if you turned a blind eye, which we do to so much cruelty today, it's like we're all complicit in that. Even if we're, you know, if you see it, if you feel it, we might not understand it, but our everyday lives kind of, it may push that, that energy. So it's like we all have to kind of look at ourselves at the end of the day, in that point of where we all have a choice. And I'm not too sure if that's Agami karma or Sanjita karma. New karma is being created during this birth, Agami karma, and those waiting in the karma saya to be fulfilled in future births. Okay, so Sanjita, I guess, is the karma that, what Pam was saying, that we're constantly working on to be birthed into the next life. And Agami is that arrow of choice. All right.
First of all, I apologize for coming in late, Rich, but
No problem.
I always have when I read this, I have a little bit of an issue with the idea. It keeps coming up in different parts of the sutra of what you're doing in this life affecting the next life, or any of the things where it says, what, you know, I feel like that's another attachment. I feel like I shouldn't be doing anything with the goal of what I get in the future. I shouldn't be doing anything with a goal of what I get. I shouldn't be doing anything. I should just be doing it with no attachment, like doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do, not because there's any result to it.
Right.
And so when we talk about karmas, I think it's really, when he talks about the karmas, I think it's really apparent to me, but I can't think of the the places where it's felt like that to me before, but it often does. And I kind of get irritated at the commentary sometimes because it's suggesting that we should be doing something for a result, when I really feel like all of this work that I'm trying to do is the opposite of that. I should be doing something for no result. I should be making the hard choices just because I believe it's the right thing to do, with no attachment to what's going to happen to me or in the future.
I hear you, Jackie. You're right in your feeling, and that's definitely what the sutras, like from the bottom, is teaching. I think what they try to do is they're trying to say, not you should be looking for the result. I mean, whatever. I know what you're saying. The commentary is irritating, but I think like what the real essence of it is that this is what the result will be. Just so you know, like here we are. Just in case you were curious, or just so you know what's going to happen. But I think like the real essence of the teaching at the bottom is really like what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
That's called akarma, I think, like an action without the expectation of return, without the expectation of any like manipulation of the future. It doesn't accumulate any new karma, what you're talking about, and that is what we should be striving for.
Right.
Rich,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Real quick, I agree with that too, Jackie, 100%. But what I'm also seeing in this book, that level of understanding is kind of like a blessing to have. And that like that level of understanding means, okay, you're a little bit further. And I don't want to, single you out, but I think that is the idea of this. And I always think of that movie Osmosis Jones, that idea of like at the very granular level, there's so much action and activity going on, and it's like everything just needs to work in concert, because the universe works in concert, and this experience in our bodies is so much bigger than us. So it's like we gotta like do our, like if we're worker bees, like we gotta do our little job to keep this thing going, right? And it always stems from like just the like, and this is like the very granular, getting into the weeds, like, okay, this is this idea of karma, and you want to have this idea to do right, but if once you get it, you're already doing it. So it's like none of that like kind of, I don't want to say matters, but you understand. Yeah, Mish.
Well, Jackie, I think that's beautiful the way you put it, but I also found the 4 meanings real quick. So Sanchita karma, here at least it's explained as the sum total karma or accumulated actions, or the arrows in the quiver. And then prarabdha karma is actions that began, they're already set in motions, arrows that are in flight. Kriyamana karma, the instant current karma or being made. And then agami karma is the future karma. So I guess that's why the last 2 we have control over, because the instant one, you're making a decision of how you're going to aim it, and that's going to affect the future. So the decisions we have to make now, which we have control over, will affect the future one. So I guess that's why the last 2 sound like almost like one thing.
Right.
What sutra are we on, you guys?
We are on 212. 212, yeah. And this is when karma is introduced, and we're kind of moving away from the ideas of how to analyze and deal with the kleshas that come up, our mental psychology. So we're now karmas is being introduced.
Okay,
But-
yeah, I'm trying to like put to sense. Like I've learned it where I don't know this translation to Sanskrit though. What you're saying.
The
I like birth being the
Mhm.
first,
Mhm.
and then the span of your life being the second,
Right.
and then the third being experiences in that life
Okay,
based
there's
on
a-
your samskaras. But I don't know how that would equate with the bow analogy.
So they use a bow analogy in here, saying that the first one, para badha karma, is like the first bow that you go to grab. Like this is the karma you come into at birth. You're just grabbing a bow. So it's
That's your birth. Okay.
yeah, that's your birth. And agami, and they only use 3 in this book. He only talks about 3 so far. Is the karma that you kind of, when you're about to shoot and you're aiming the arrow, that is your karma of action. And based off of kleshas and, how you deal and behave with yourself and I guess the universe around you, that's what your behavior is, your decisions you choose. That's your agami karma. It's sajita karma. Yeah. And sajita karma has this, and agami has this kind of blend where I guess once you continue to do action, right? So you keep on living, your karmas keep on acquiring. Sanjita kind of, to me, it seems like it's building your next transition, like you're building something. It's kind of like a legacy, and I don't know if that's right, but it's like, okay, I've been this, at this and this. I'm here, and you kind of like build a legacy to propel you into the reciprocal karmasaya. Yeah, and that to me, that's what Sanjita is. Okay,
Thank you.
And I'll just read this last sentence. And it says, so this cycle continues until self-realization comes. That's the last sentence on page 91. So, and maybe I'll read from this whole last paragraph and we can get back into breath work. The second arrow ready to be aimed is like a new karma you create at each moment. You have full control over it, and the quiver represents the karmasaya. If you want, you can aim the arrows from the quiver. Otherwise, you can take them out. It is in your hands. They are called Sanjita Karma. We control the Agami and the Sanjita, but we can't do anything about the Para Badha. We just have to accept it. So this cycle continues until self-realization comes. Yes. Quite dense.
Rich,
So
we need to
we
wrap
need
it
to,
up.
yeah. we need to push forward. So I'm sorry, but if your brain hurts after that one, we are going to do some breath work, right? So and you can keep your eyes open, or you can find your eyes closed. Maybe you put your hands on your knees. Take a steady inhale through the nostrils and exhale. We're going to start to relax our shoulders away from our ears, right? And we're going to do some alternate nostril breathing. So we're going to take our right palm, take our pointer finger and our middle finger down, and we're going to flip our palm towards each other, right? And we're going to just press down on this right nostril, and we're just going to find a deep inhale through the left nostril. And exhale through the left nostril. We're going to find another inhale through the left nostril. Closing out the left nostril. And exhale through the right nostril. Inhale through the right nostril. Close out the right nostril and exhale out the left. Inhale through the left nostril. Close out the left nostril. Exhale out the right nostril. Inhale through the right. Close out the right and exhale through the left. Inhaling through the left nostril. Closing out the left nostril and exhaling through the right. Inhaling through the right nostril. And closing out the right nostril, exhaling through the left. You're going to take this 3 more times on your own breath. And whenever you're ready, you can start to drop in, set your timer for a meditation. starting to find an exhale. That will be the end of our meditation today. All right.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
You too. You too. I'm gonna
Thank
keep it.
you.
I'm gonna keep it within the time like next time.